Hello there, whether you're listening to me from the quiet of your own room or in the middle of a long, busy day, I want you to pause for just a moment, take a deep breath, and let your heart open. There are some things you can't just hear with your ears. You have to feel them right here in your chest. And what I'm about to share with you today isn't an exaggeration, and it's not some empty pep talk either. This is the truth. A truth about the very nature you carry, that you, if you are an Aries, have held inside you from the very first day you stepped into this world. You are not like everyone else. Not better, just different. Because God made you with 7 sacred gifts and gave them to no other sign in the zodiac. Each gift not only shapes who you are, it explains why you think the way you think, why you feel the way you feel, and why you live the way you live. And once you recognize them, everything in your life will change. So, are you ready to open those 7 doors of destiny? If this story speaks to you, tap like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Because who knows, maybe the words you leave here today will be the spark that awakens another Aries heart, somewhere out there, still trying to find its way. Have you ever noticed, when the world is completely still, there's always a faint heartbeat somewhere, as if it's just waiting for someone to touch it and wake it up? It's that moment right before the sun rises, the sky still heavy with the breath of night, but along the edge of the horizon, a thin blade of light has already begun to cut through the darkness. No one told it to appear. No one gave it a schedule or a summons. It simply arrives. Because that is the nature of light, it has to be born when the darkness has lingered for too long. Aries, you are the same. You weren't born to stand in line, waiting for someone to call your name. You were sent here to clear the path, to shatter the dust and fog of stagnation, to take the very first step when everyone else is still wondering, is it safe? But I know that road is not always bright, because as the one who starts, you are also the one who takes the first cold wind of the season, the one who faces doors no one has ever opened, and sometimes, the one who must walk in the dark longer than anyone else. That's the point where most people give up. But you bend down, pick up the last spark still burning inside you, and feed it into a flame. That flame never asks, when will it be my turn? It only knows how to burn, and when it burns, it pulls everything around it into the light. You may not even realize it, but how many times have others found their strength just by watching you move forward? How many times has a single word from you been like a match in their hand? This world will always need someone willing to set the wheel in motion when it's been still for too long. Someone willing to knock on the door labeled impossible. Someone with a heart warm enough to bring life back to an entire room that's been sleeping. Aries, you carry that instinct inside you. An instinct no logic can measure, no blueprint can predict. It rises without warning, like thunder on a sunny day, like the pounding of your heart when you know, if I don't do this now, I'll miss the chance to light up an entire chapter of my life. And one day you'll look back and realize, every time you dared to break the silence, every time you set something in motion that never existed before, you left your mark in someone's heart. Not through fame, not through medals, but through the life you breathed into them. Like that first streak of light cutting across the night sky, you don't wait for permission. You appear and everything changes color. And right now, I want to tell you about that flame. The original fire, the very first gift, and perhaps the very first message God ever sent to you. A fire not just to keep warm, but to awaken. To break the ice that's been locked inside someone's heart for far too long. And above all, to remind you of this one thing: you were never born to stand still. There are moments when you feel you've reached your very limit. Your feet grow heavy, your breath burns in your chest, and all around you is only the sound of the wind cutting past your ears. No one stands beside you, no cheers, no hand reaching down to pull you up. Only an endless open space and the steady beat of your own heart. Most people would stop right there. They'd turn back, look for an easier road, a safer way. But you don't. Because deep inside there's a force, unseen yet unshakable, quiet, but relentless, pushing you one more step forward and then another. Aries, your will is not a flash of fire that burns out quickly. It's like an underground spring, weaving its way through solid rock, patiently searching for a path. No matter how long it takes, no matter how many times it's blocked, you don't move forward to prove you're strong. You take the next step because if you stopped, you'd be betraying your own heart. The world doesn't always understand that. They see you as stubborn, hard to move. But what they don't see is that every time you stand firm, you're protecting something sacred, your truth. A truth you're willing to pay any price to keep whole. How many times has everything fallen apart right before your eyes, and instead of collapsing, you've chosen to rise, brush off the dust, and walk forward again? Not because the road ahead is easier, but because you know if you don't, your heart will grow cold. And once your heart grows cold, you will no longer be yourself. That will can't be bought, can't be taught, can't be copied. It's a gift God placed inside you like a quiet command. Keep moving toward the light even when the darkness surrounds you. That's why, whenever the world around you falls silent, when every door seems to slam shut, you find a crack of light to slip through. You don't wait for it to open, you make a way. Sometimes that choice leaves you standing alone. But in time you see that will is what keeps you from disappearing in the storm. It's also what leaves a mark in the hearts of those who have watched you rise. Not to make them admire you, but to make them remember they can too. And inside that persistence, something else begins to grow. A different kind of strength, deeper, softer, yet able to break through the coldest walls. A strength that doesn't just lift you to your feet, but pulls someone else out of the dark. And once that touches your heart, every step you take will no longer be just for yourself. There are kinds of love that never need a name. They stand like a solid wall at someone's back, even when they have no idea it's there. Like a hand resting gently on your shoulder in that moment you're about to fall, and only when you turn around do you realize who's been there all along. Aries, your heart doesn't know how to love halfway. When you choose someone, you step into their life like a warm wind, breathing life back into a fading flame. You shield, you protect, you take the arrows they never even saw coming. You don't need promises, you don't need proof. Just knowing they are yours is enough for you to give everything you've got. Your love isn't calm like a still river. It's a rushing current, sweeping away doubt, and making people believe they deserve to live fully, unapologetically. You love with an open heart, yet you're ready to clench your fist to protect what you see as sacred. That's not anger. That's a rare kind of courage, the courage to stand for someone else, even when it costs you something. The world often sees only the strong, direct side of you. They don't see that behind every fierce reaction is the quiet fear of losing what you love most. You move quickly because you don't want to be too late. You stand strong in front of others, but quietly accept the hurt yourself as long as it keeps them safe. Loving the way you do means accepting being misunderstood. Sometimes you give far more than you receive. Sometimes you stand outside someone's happiness just to make sure they can keep it. And still, you keep loving. Because to you, protecting the ones you love is worth far more than any thank you. And because of that love, your heart has learned a greater truth, that real strength isn't the absence of pain. It's the willingness to feel it, to endure it, for the sake of what matters most. That strength is what makes you not just a fighter, but a healer. People see you battling the world, but those who truly understand know you're also battling yourself to never lose your kindness. With every step, every decision, every hand you hold, that courage remains silently building a circle of safety for those you love. A circle strong enough for them to live honestly, and sometimes to teach them how to give that same gift to someone else. And from that courage, something else begins to emerge. It's no longer just love for the familiar, but an energy that spreads far beyond, a quiet force that makes every action you take capable of awakening someone. As if with just a word, a glance, a simple gesture, you could stir life in a heart that's been silent for far too long. There are people who can walk into a room and change the atmosphere without saying a single word. Not because they're trying to draw attention, but because their presence carries a different rhythm, an invisible current that somehow reaches the hearts of everyone around them. Aries, you are one of the few who can do that. Every step you take leaves an echo. Every glance, every word, plants a seed in the heart of the one standing before you. You may not always notice it, but how many times has just one decisive action from you given someone back the courage they thought they had lost? You don't plan to inspire. You don't measure every word to be liked. You simply live truthfully, and that truth carries a power that moves people. It's like a breeze sweeping across a field, not choosing its direction, yet waking an entire garden that's been asleep. People see you stand when everything is in chaos. They see you choose the harder road because it's the one true to your heart. And in that moment, they realize maybe they can do the same. That's how your energy works, quiet, unforced, yet powerful enough that anyone who touches it cannot stay the same. In the moment you choose to act, whether it's to protect someone, to speak the truth, or simply to not miss a chance, you send out a silent message that life is worth living fully, and courage is not a privilege reserved for the few. That strength isn't measured by praise or admiring looks. It's measured in the hearts that start beating faster when they see you move. In the people who begin to speak what they once kept hidden, just because they saw you do it first. In the tears of relief when someone realizes they're not alone. And with time, you come to understand inspiring others doesn't always mean leading a crowd. Sometimes, it's just lighting a single spark of hope in one person at the exact moment they need it most. Like one candle passing its flame to another, you lose nothing, yet the world gains one less shadow. And from these moments of living in truth, a new kind of strength begins to form. No longer just in the action itself, but spreading outward like ripples, even long after you've left the room. It stirs people, not only to stand, but to begin again, to start something of their own. And when you finally see that, you understand what you set in motion is not only the story of today, it also touches beginnings that have yet to be written. And from here, another quality within you even deeper waits to be revealed. There's something in you that always leans toward the sunrise. Even when the sky is still dark, even when the road ahead hasn't yet revealed itself, there's an invisible pull urging you forward, not to run away from the old, but to reach the place where something new is waiting. Aries, you were born with a finely tuned radar for beginnings. While others are still weighing their options, you can already feel the very first heartbeat of what's about to arrive. Like the one who stirs a hidden ember buried in the ashes, you can sense an opportunity before it even takes shape. You can't stand stagnation, not because you're impatient, but because you understand, when things stop moving, they slowly lose their life. So you choose to be the one who goes first, even when that means stepping into territory no one has walked before. You're willing to break the routine, turn the whole board around, or even start everything over, just to breathe a fresh wind into reality. What's remarkable is, when you begin something, you're not only opening the door for yourself. Somehow that energy spreads, making those around you want to step out of their own safe zones. You don't need to convince them. You don't need long explanations. You simply live true to your instinct for beginnings, and that courage becomes a kind of magic for someone else. This world will always need people like you, those willing to create movement where everything has been asleep too long. The ones who remind us we are not bound to the same worn paths, that every day can be the first page of a brand new story. There may be times when you ask yourself, why am I always the one who starts? But then you realize in that exact moment you set something new in motion. You're not only saving yourself from lifeless repetition, you're giving someone else the chance to change their life. It's more than an action, it's a gift you hand over even without saying a word. And sometimes, in the middle of all that change, there's still a part of you that never moves. A part that stands steady, like the needle of a compass, always pointing in the same true direction. That part keeps every beginning of yours from being swept away by chaos, ensuring that each step you take starts from the place you truly belong. There are compasses that need no metal, no map. They rest right here in your chest, moving to a rhythm only you can hear. And whenever the world grows loud, whenever opinions come from every direction, that compass stays silent yet points to one unshakable direction. Aries, that is your instinct. Not a vague feeling, but a clear voice from deep within, a place no one has ever touched. A voice that refuses to compromise with anything false. It won't let you smile when your heart wants to cry, or nod yes when your chest is screaming no. Maybe that's why you're often misunderstood. People think you're impulsive, hot-headed, or impatient. But the truth is, you simply cannot betray yourself. You can wait patiently, endure, even bend to keep the peace. But the moment you realize you're losing your true nature, you let go. No drama, no long explanation. You walk away because staying would mean locking yourself inside an invisible cage. Sometimes that choice costs you a job, a relationship, even people you once loved deeply. But Aries, it is this loyalty to your own instinct that keeps you whole, because anything false will eventually fall apart, and when it does, you'll still have yourself. The world has a way of making people forget that inner voice. They get busy chasing what they should do, what they are supposed to do, until they start believing what they feel doesn't matter. But you're different. You understand the value of living true to yourself, because you know what it's like when that inner fire goes out. And once you've felt that, you'd rather endure the pain of leaving than stay and become a stranger to yourself. Others might take years to figure this out. For you, it's like survival instinct, not just to protect yourself, but to keep that light in you from being swallowed by the darkness of pretense. And then, when you walk away, something strange happens. Those who never understood begin to see it more clearly. They realize leaving isn't always the end. Sometimes it's the bravest way to begin a new chapter. And right there, another, deeper gift starts to appear, a force that not only protects you, but connects you to the original power of the universe itself. It makes every decision, no matter how risky, a starting point for rebirth. And when you touch that moment, you see, everything that came before was simply leading you to another fire, a fire that doesn't burn but gives life. There are flames that are not born to burn but to light the way. They don't roar, they don't destroy, yet they're strong enough to turn a silent, lifeless darkness into something alive again. Aries, the creative fire within you is exactly like that. It's not just the energy that pushes you to create something new. It's a mission you carried with you from the moment you stepped into this world. A quiet message transformed the current around you, not through orders or control, but simply by living your truth. That fire awakens every time you dare to step through fear. When you act not for safety, but for what feels right in your heart. When you give yourself permission to begin again, even after a fall so heavy you thought you'd never stand. Each time you do, you're not only saving yourself, you're opening the door for someone else to believe they can do the same. You may not even realize it, but how many times has one bold decision of yours been the silent yes that so many other hearts were waiting for just to change? Others might call it luck, or boldness, or destiny. But I know it's your nature to turn your own life into a lighthouse, so that anyone lost can find their way home. This fire is also medicine, not just for others but for you, because every time you start again, you wipe away another layer of dust from your soul and you become clearer, freer. You understand rebirth doesn't need a miracle. It only needs one choice to stop letting fear lead the way. The beautiful thing is, this creative fire never goes out. It may shrink when you're tired, but it has never left you. All it takes is one breath of truth, one drop of courage, and it bursts alive again, lighting even the darkest corners within you. And when that light spreads, it doesn't ask who deserves it. It doesn't choose between friend or stranger. It simply does what it was born to do: give life, give hope, give beginnings. And then once you've truly seen this fire inside you, you start to understand why the entire journey before had to lead you here. Every misstep, every goodbye, every bold first step was a piece of the puzzle so that this fire could shine at the exact moment it was meant to. To remind you, you're not just the one who opens the road, you're the one who keeps the rhythm for the long journey ahead. And from here, a quiet question begins to grow. Not about what you've already done, but about where you'll choose to let this light touch next. Because once you've carried this fire, you can never go back to living as if you didn't know it was there. You're different now, and the world will be different too because of you. Aries, when you've listened to this whole journey, I want you to stop for a moment and let everything settle, because what you've just heard isn't just 7 gifts, it's 7 pieces of the puzzle that make up your soul. You were made different, not to be above anyone, but to keep your light intact in a world that changes its colors every single day. This world doesn't need a smaller version of you. It doesn't need an Aries squeezed to fit someone else's mold. It needs you whole, with the first spark that never goes out, with the will to walk through any wall, with a love strong enough to protect and pure enough to heal, with actions that move other people's hearts, with the gift of seeing and starting something new, with an unshakable loyalty to the voice within, and with a creative fire that knows how to turn darkness into dawn. But knowing this is not enough. These gifts weren't given for you to lock away in a drawer only to open when things feel safe. They were given for you to use every day, to act, to inspire, to leave a mark that even you might be surprised to see ripple so far. There will be days when you feel small in the middle of a million other voices. Moments when you think, maybe I should stay quiet. But remember, the fire inside you is not a burden. It's an invitation. An invitation to live fully, to love fully, to give yourself fully, so that every step you take changes this world just a little, even if it's only by an inch. Don't shrink back because you're afraid someone might find you too bright. Don't wait for permission to begin. Don't hold back your heartbeat just because it pounds too loud. Because if you do, you're turning away from the very mission you were sent here to fulfill. Step out. Let that fire light your path, and without meaning to, it will also light the way for someone else still stumbling through the dark. Because sometimes, the only thing they need to keep going is to see that you are still burning. And if one day you forget, come back to these words. Not to remember what I said, but to remember who you are. An Aries made of something different with 7 gifts that can't be copied. And this world is still waiting for you to use them.